So let's get ready. The topic of today is 5 practical tips for rocking your meditation, or basically for a successful meditation. And I would like to discuss this with you because really this is a very, very fascinating topic actually. As many of you know, meditation is one of my favorite forms of practice. It's not the only. There's quite a lot of spiritual practices that I love doing, but meditation is a very powerful one. And everybody understands that because honestly, most people, when you ask them what do you think about meditation, even the most average person today will immediately tell you that meditation sounds like a very deep, beautiful thing. Isn't it very spiritual to meditate? If anybody thinks, for example, of great saints, let's say Buddha, for example, everybody thinks Buddha reached enlightenment. Everybody knows that. But how did he do it? Did he do it by doing some headstand, or by doing some yoga, or by doing some pranayama breathing exercises? No. Everybody knows Buddha was sitting under the banyan tree for the whole night meditating. He was doing a meditation, and from there he reached enlightenment. Therefore, meditation, everybody knows, is something very unique, very spiritual, and therefore everybody would like to succeed in meditation. So how can I help you with meditation? What are the 5 tips? I'll tell you shortly the steps, I would call them, more than tips for successful meditation. But first, in order to understand that, I need to explain what actually is meditation. Because if I want to help you meditate, I need to make sure that you understand what meditation actually is. Because here, there's a big misunderstanding in modern times where a lot of people think that they meditate. They would like to meditate. They even believe that they meditate when actually they don't. And the reason for that is very simple. People today don't really know what meditation actually is. The truth is that this is very confusing because people think maybe if I'm just sitting with eyes closed and my thoughts are running from one to another, like associatively thinking thoughts, then I'm meditating. Not true. Maybe it's if my imagination is constructively or just chaotically running around, I'm meditating. That's not meditation. Some say that if I'm very mindful, then I'm meditating. To a degree, maybe, but then we'll need to define what is mindfulness actually. And that in itself can be very confusing for a lot of people because there's different opinion even on that. Some say that meditation is when I simply don't think any thoughts at all. It's true that if you can reach to a point of a few seconds, maybe longer, where you don't think at all, it is already a good state, but it's not yet what we define as meditation. Is it the inner dialogue in my brain when I sit there and my mind goes taka taka tak inside? Does that mean that I'm meditating? Is it just that I reach an inner state of peace and happiness? Is that meditation? As you can see, I can keep going on, but it's very misleading. A lot of people get confused. What is meditation? Is it just anything that I feel good about, sitting, closing my eyes, can be defined as meditation? No. Meditation has been defined very clearly, very specifically in the yoga tradition because it is part of the yogic teachings of India and Tibet. This was defined most famously by a great yogi 2,500 years ago by the name of Patanjali. He wrote a text which is called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and in his text he defined the yoga system very clearly. And in that text he says that there are 8 levels to the yoga ladder, so to speak, 8 levels in which you can progress towards the accomplishment in yoga. The last stage, which is number 8, is enlightenment. He calls it samadhi, the technical term. And the surprising thing is that the one before the end, number 7, not 8, 8 is enlightenment, but before that, number 7 is actually defined as dhyana in Sanskrit, which means meditation. Therefore, meditation is considered by Patanjali to be the last but one in the stages of yoga, which means this is not just some random sitting and mumbling or holding a rosary or just thinking thoughts or all the things that we've said. It means that this is something extremely concrete, extremely powerful, and it needs to be achieved. What is this mysterious thing? What is this meditation? This is what Patanjali says. Patanjali defines meditation in the following way. Listen to this. Meditation is a controlled expansion of the mind. Again, I'm saying, Patanjali says meditation is a controlled expansion of the mind. In other words, Patanjali tells us, what did we learn from this? Number one, meditation involves the mind. Number two, it needs to be an expansion of the mind. It creates an expansion sensation to the mind. And number three, which is the most important, it is a controlled expansion of the mind. It's not a chaotic expansion of the mind. It's not just some kind of a trip that I have if I, don't know, took some drugs or God knows what, and then I'm all over the place. I think I was meditating. Not at all. You may even have experienced, because of some drugs or some experience in your life, an expansion temporarily of your mind, but it was 99% chance a chaotic expansion of the mind. And if the mind just jumps around, even if it means expansion, it is not meditation. Meditation is a controlled expansion of the mind. And that is something that we need to work with. So how exactly do we work with meditation? First of all, in order to understand how to expand the mind and all these things, we need to understand something even more fundamental, and that is what exactly is the nature of the mind. A lot of people don't even know what is the nature of the mind. If you don't understand the nature of your own mind, meditation is a fantasy. It's just passing your time. You can de-stress, you can maybe relax, it's good for lowering blood pressure, fine, but it's not meditation, not the real meditation. That's why we need to understand how the mind works, number one. So how the mind works in a simple way is the following. The mind tends to be, by definition, extremely movable. It is continuously moving. It is very chaotic. The mental fluctuations or the functions of the mind are very exposed to external and internal stimulation. So therefore, the first thing we need to understand is that our mind is continuously impacted, significantly so, by various stimulation. Some of them are external, there's a lot of them, and some of them are internal, there's a lot of those as well. It could be anything from your diet, even your diet would affect the way you think, to the weather. A change in the weather can change the way your mind works, from the internet that you're exposed to and you're surfing online and whatever, watching YouTube silly videos and cat videos and whatever, that affects the mind. Relationships, how you're interacting with people around you, or your even love relationship, that affects your mind a lot. And basically the mind is like a fertile soil which is continuously bombarded with stimulations which produce reactions. In other words, our mind is in a constant state of reactions. We continuously react. Something happened and I'm reacting. Another thing, somebody upset me, something on television, I'm feeling hungry, 1,000,001 things. And the mind keeps reacting all the time. And as a result of that, we live in a state of reaction. You might say, so what's the big deal? So I'm reacting all the time. Is that bad? It is bad, because when you are all the time in a state of reaction, you have no possibility to cultivate or to tap in to the power of your mind. The mind has great power, infinite power. But that power, in order to harness it, the mind needs to calm down. It needs to concentrate. For the mind to calm down and concentrate, we need to make sure that it's not a stormy, wild, chaotic machinery. If it is wild and chaotic, there is no chance for us to tap into its power. It means that as long as you are constantly reactive, you have no power. You have no energy, not in a real sense. Whatever you think you have, it is negligible compared to what you could achieve if you learn how to control the mind's tendency to react to the constant bombardment of the environment, your own memories, your own seeds from the past, desires, external, internal, doesn't matter. But the mind constantly jumps around. It continuously reacts. How do we deal with that? This is where we start getting results. If we really want to succeed in meditation, first step is learn how, and this is the first tip or the first step that I want to share with you today. Number one, stop reacting to stimulations. You might say, right, easier said than done. I continuously try to stop myself from thinking thoughts and, I don't know, getting agitated or influenced by various things. But it's not easy, because you know what? The mind, even if I tell myself right now, don't react, don't jump with every little thing. Somebody said something to me, I don't have to jump and react because of it. Yes, I said it to myself, but you know what? The mind jumps anyway. So how can we actually control that? In order to control that, we need to develop one more thing. And this is already the second tip that I want to share with you today. And that is a certain kind of self-observation, self-awareness, if you wish. You need to, first of all, make it very, very clear to yourself that this is so necessary. This is so important. This is not just a minor thing. Most people accept it all the time, that it's completely normal, that I've got all kinds of thoughts in my head. Many times they are totally silly thoughts, useless thoughts, ridiculous thoughts. And so what? It's just thoughts. This is not true. Thoughts are energy. These are energies which are very powerful. And therefore, don't just submit and say, well, whichever thoughts come to my mind, it doesn't matter. These are just silly thoughts. It's not important. It is very important. We need to take responsibilities to our own thoughts. To our thoughts. People say, I was always told that I should take responsibility for my actions. Isn't that what's important? You're right, but question, what is causing your actions to take place? Answer, in many cases, it is your thought. There is a thought that precedes the action. Control the thoughts, and you anyway control your actions. You will control much more than your actions. You would control your destiny if you control your thoughts. This is the words of Shivananda, the famous Swami Shivananda from India. He said exactly this. If you want to control your destiny, control your thoughts. And therefore, we need to develop that step number two, a certain self-awareness, observation. I continuously observe how I think. What thoughts keep popping into my head? If those thoughts are thoughts which are not positive, not beneficial, not spiritual, not clean, but completely chaotic or sometimes downright negative, you know what we do with those thoughts? We just very gently ignore them. Just brush them away. Just let them go. And immediately replace them with a positive thought, opposite to the negative that came up. This is a simple method. Patanjali mentions this in the Yoga Sutras, in his text. He calls it Pratipaksha Bhavana. It's a Sanskrit name, where he says replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts. This is not just positive thinking or some wishy-washy new age mentality. This is literal taking and itemizing your thoughts, taking responsibility for your mental processes. This is very critical for your success. So be aware that your thoughts are not anymore some kind of minor thing that just comes and goes, and yeah, I've got all kinds of thoughts, I've got some silly thoughts, who cares? You should care. Every thought that you allow to your mind should be counted for. That's how strong it should be. That's the second one. The third one, now that we are becoming more aware of what thoughts keep popping in my head all the time, and my awareness becomes more clear, the next step, the third step or tip to share with you today is that we need to learn now how to concentrate the mind. I've mentioned that in a previous session, and I'm going to mention that a million more times in my life, I'm sure, because concentration of the mind is the essential key for success. How do we concentrate the mind? I've mentioned a few things in the previous session. You can go back and replay it if you want and remember there some of the things I've mentioned. There are various techniques in yoga, techniques of concentration, from staring at a certain dot on the wall, from throwing some matches on the floor and counting them again and again, to, I don't know, listening to the tick-tock of a watch, or simply doing various other techniques. Those of you who participated in our meditation teacher training course, I was teaching there quite a few techniques of concentration, from Shambhavi Mudra to others and others, which are very powerful. So work with your concentration of the mind. This is very critical, and that's the third step. The fourth step, the next one, the fourth tip for today is, in order to be able to meditate, you need to feel your own mind when you're concentrating and focusing. You need to feel your mind as if it is a part of your body. It actually is. It's like a muscle in your body. You need to build up this muscle, and you need to become more and more aware of it. When you are flexing the muscles, let's say, of your hands, you're aware of it. You can become aware of it more and more if you really concentrate on what you're doing. The same happens when you concentrate the mind. When you work with the mind, notice how long can you keep it on one point. The mind is focused, and you say, I'm totally focused right now. I can feel it. Stay with it. How long can I stay with this self-mental awareness? This will take you to a very deep state already. This is already coming close to an actual state of meditation, when you just observe your mind concentrating. Your mind is concentrating. Let's say you chose a teaspoon, or you chose a glass of water. You just put it there, and you look at it, and there nothing else exists in the world. You're just looking at the glass of water. Your mind wants to jump to all kinds of thoughts. Remember what we said? Ignore them, let them go. Only the glass of water. Only the glass of water. Only the glass of water. You're concentrating, and now you're looking at yourself concentrating. You're observing yourself concentrating. You say, wow, now I'm fully concentrated. My mind is concentrated, and I'm observing my mind concentrating. If you can achieve that, take some practice, but it's worth doing, your ability to meditate is already there. Because that leads us to step number 5. And you will notice that now, as you're concentrating and observing your mind while it concentrates on whichever object you choose, it can even be a yantra on the wall if you like yantras. It could be anything you choose, any object, even a tree, even a mountain. You can choose whatever you want to concentrate on. It doesn't have to be something very extravagant. Actually, the more simple and basic, the better. The mind would say, oh, but it's very boring. Excellent. The more boring, the better. Because this is not about thinking thoughts. Remember, the mind wants something interesting. So it can think about, oh, look at this mountain. It's so interesting. And I think this and this and that. And the thoughts will start multiplying. Choose something extremely boring in the beginning, like a glass of water or like a teaspoon. How much can you think about a teaspoon? Very quickly, the mind will just say, I can't think of it anymore. It's very boring. And then you tell it, good, now concentrate on it. Just focus on the object, and there's nothing in the world other than this object. I am there with the object, and nothing else happens. And you observe yourself doing that, and then we come to the last step, number 5, and that is you need to feel a certain state of relaxation in your mental awareness, because in the beginning stages when you practice this thing, it can feel very challenging. I'm trying to concentrate. I'm trying to become aware of myself concentrating. It's like, wow, it's like a real effort for some people in the beginning. It's understandable. But once you do this for a few weeks, a few months, depends on you. If you do it daily, you'll get results pretty quick. Then you'll notice that at some point you can concentrate and it becomes easier. It's like you relax in that mental awareness. And then the second you get to the level where you're so focused, it's becoming crazy. It's so interesting. That boring teaspoon or glass of water suddenly is like, whoa, it becomes a gateway to another universe. And as I'm staying there and I'm observing my mind so absorbed in that item, in that object, then the mind will start just going, whoa. Suddenly it will expand. You will notice a kind of, it's as if you're drifting away, but not in the usual way. Many people drift. When you daydream, for example, you sit in a lecture or you sit someplace and it's really a boring time for you, and you just drift and you go, whoa, and you just drift in your mind in a kind of silly way. That's okay, but that's drifting, not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about fully being present, fully concentrating on that boring object. You just concentrate, and then suddenly, whoa, there's a drift that happens, but that drift is with full awareness. It is not a drift, it is an expansion. And you just notice how your mind is enjoying the experience. It's crazy, it's funny, but your mind is enjoying the experience. It expands and expands, and you're still here, you're still focused, but it's if your mind can see with 100 eyes suddenly. And when you get to that state, congratulations, you're meditating. Now it is indeed a meditation. This is not just some associative thinking, it's not positive thinking, it's not, I don't know, whatever, imagination running amok or any other things. It is the right form of meditation. This is meditation, and that is the practice to achieve it. These are the steps. The best way to meditate, in my opinion, is to take these steps and practice them in the beginning. But if you want to go deeper, because believe it or not, the yogis of India, especially the Tantric yogis of India, they've developed specific techniques that can engage all these elements I just mentioned to you in a very smart way. One of the best meditation techniques I know, and I know quite a few, trust me, I've even spent time in Buddhist monasteries and others, and I've seen various techniques which are powerful. And yet, one of the most powerful meditation techniques that I know uses exactly these elements. And this technique is called Laya Yoga. Laya Yoga is a tantric form of meditation. It is very powerful. It uses sounds and vibrations. It can also use subtle colors, but that's a different form of Laya Yoga. And I'm going to teach exactly this Laya Yoga meditation in a month in India when we do the yoga teacher training course and the level 1 yoga. I'm going to give the initiation because it comes with an initiation with a mantra. I'm going to put my fingers on your forehead for a few seconds and give you an initiation with a mantra. And then I will teach you the specific steps of Laya Yoga, which are similar to what I just explained, but more comprehensive. And then you start practicing with this. If you practice Laya Yoga meditation, I can tell you, you go very deep. And the expansion comes very quickly because it uses some very powerful tantric mechanisms. And that is one of the best forms of meditation I can recommend, which indeed I've seen with my own eyes that it can lead to high states of consciousness, even with beginners. This is how powerful Laya Yoga can be. And that's something I'm going to share in our Yoga Level 1 and the Yoga Teacher Training course, which we're going to have, as you've heard, in a month in India. If you haven't had a chance to join, I highly recommend come with us. We have a very beautiful resort in the mountains of the Himalayas, just above Rishikesh, in the Himalayan mountains there, with a beautiful stream flowing through and nice, natural food there, which is cooked for us, and a very beautiful, lots of green, lush environment of the Himalayan mountains. It's a very quiet place, perfect for meditation, perfect for yoga practice. I highly recommend come with us, and we'll have some very amazing experiences together. I plan to really go deep with some of the practices there, and especially with meditation, because it will be part of the teaching that we will experience there. So this is what I wanted to say. And with this, we are coming to the conclusion of our presentation of today with regards to the 5 tips on how to rock your meditation, or basically succeed in your meditation. And now I'm going to start taking some of the Q&A, the questions and answers that I promised to answer. As usually, I do it towards the end. And now also it's the time for you to put in the comments over there in the box the words Namaste one-on-one, and let's see if we can, if you want to have the one-on-one chat with me at some point later on, then participate in our competition. Just put the words Namaste one-on-one and we will take it from there, okay? So now is the time to start the competition. Put the words if you want. Next, I'm going to start answering some questions now. Let's see what do we have here. First question from Malaysia, from D. Shiba. How to consistently do sitting meditation or yoga, how to build up motivation and energy to be consistent. This is a very good question, and it's one of the classic obstacles that all spiritual practitioners, sadhakas, or as we call them, people who practice or having a sadhana, they struggle with. How can I keep myself consistent? This requires, and I'm sorry if it sounds a bit boring, but it requires willpower. Now, willpower is not something you just have, because Soma said willpower, so okay, let's just have willpower. Obviously, it's not something that you just get out of nowhere. But what we can do is something else. And I'll tell you something very interesting. You can learn how to build your willpower. You can make your willpower strong. It is like a muscle in the body. It can be built up and become strong. How can you build your willpower? I'll tell you how. Use a simple technique. This comes from the teachings of yoga. It is called tapas. I won't go into the full, it's a big length lecture, but basically what tapas means is that you take a decision. Say, for example, that you notice that you eat too much sugar. Let's say, oh, I'm eating so many sweets and chocolates. We know sugar is not good for me, not good for my teeth. I would like to stop sugar, but I can't. You know what? Let's take a simple decision that for 1 week, just 1 week, I will avoid any sugar whatsoever. No sugar at all. I can only eat fruits, which naturally are sweet, or natural honey, and that's it. No artificial sugar, no brown sugar, damarara sugar, or any sugar whatsoever. No sugar, no matter how natural, no sugar for a whole week. Can I resist that? I'm going to take it as a tapas. When you say to yourself, I'm taking it as a tapas, it means nothing in heaven or in earth is going to stop me during this week. Nothing. I'm not going to have sugar. I will die before I have sugar this week. This is how serious you need to be. If you take such a strong decision, 1 week, you don't have sugar, and you finish it. If you manage to complete exactly 1 week, not 6 days and, 23 hours, complete 7 days, 1 week. Do it 7 days plus 1 hour just to be safe. If you do that, you actually get something very interesting. Not only that you avoided sugar and you are more healthy, that's nice. But more than that, you'll notice that your willpower suddenly has become stronger because you took a decision and you did it. That's how you start. You build yourself up with small decisions, small things. For example, I wake up every day, 9 o'clock a.m. It's very late. My day doesn't work well for me. I want to get better. I'm going to get up 8:30. 8:30, that's just half an hour less or 1 hour less, 8 o'clock. Anyone can do that, not difficult. Let's do that for 1 week. It's a very small decision, not difficult, but you have to start small. Just like when you go to the gym and you work with weights, you have to start with very light weights in the beginning to build up your muscles. You can't start with 20 kilos and you will have severe pain and you will fail. You have to start with small decisions. As you get better and better and better with small decisions, start taking bigger, slightly bigger decisions. And in this way, after a few months, after 6 months, When you keep working with your willpower, with these small and then bigger decisions, then when you get to a point that your willpower becomes really strong, then you can start saying, I will meditate every day for 30 minutes or for 1 hour. I will do yoga every day for whichever time, and I will do it for the next month without a break, and you will succeed. Remember, with this tapas technology, you must make sure that you have a time limit. Don't take a tapas saying for the rest of my life, I'm going to do this or that. The mind cannot handle that. Do it for a period of time, a week, maybe a month or 2 months or something, but always keep it very clear time frame. This is how you build your willpower, and that is how you can build up success and regularly do your practice. I hope this helps. Moving on to question number 2 from Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. How to control the reaction mechanism of the mind? Obviously, a very important question. That's the million-dollar question. How can we control the reaction mechanism of the mind? The thing is that first thing we need to do is develop the awareness. I remind you that was step number 2 when I said become aware of how the thoughts work in your mind. Just become aware. How to become aware? Just give yourself 5 minutes a day, just 5 minutes, when you don't do anything else, nothing else, and you sit there and you're saying, I just want to look at my thoughts. That's it. I'm just looking at my thoughts. And then, wow, I'm just thinking about looking at my thoughts. And then I'm thinking, oh, I'm looking at my couch right now. Okay, that's another thought. And then I'm thinking, I'm kind of hungry. Oh, that's another thought. And I just keep observing my thoughts for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. Do this once, maybe twice a day. Just by doing that, you're training yourself to observe your thoughts. The more you train yourself to observe your thoughts, the more you will notice that you start becoming aware of the mind. The more you are aware of the mind, the easier it will be for you to, funny enough, be more aware when it jumps to react. Because if you're aware of it just like that, when you do practice once, twice a day, it's not a long time, just 5 minutes, all the time observing what thoughts are coming through my mind right now. Why am I thinking? You might be surprised that after 2 minutes, suddenly you're drifting and thinking, oh, but I forgot to feed my dog, and I'm supposed to do, what am I thinking? Become aware of your mind. Become aware of the thoughts. The more you practice that, you'll, funny enough, get to a level very quickly where you will notice during the day, suddenly something happens, whatever, I don't know, somebody's at the door or somebody sent me an email, and your mind reacts to that and you catch it and you're saying, wow, look at my mind reacting to that. You developed it, and you need to work on this regularly. If you do that, your ability to achieve this control over the reaction mechanism of the mind will develop more and more. I hope this helps. Moving on to question number 3 from Rok Yagodik. Can you recommend a good book on Laya Yoga? That is a very good question, because in fact, Laya Yoga, actually there's very, very few books ever written in the last 110 years on Laya Yoga. There's one book which was written about 100 and so years ago. And that book is the original book on Laya Yoga, which is a very powerful. It deals with the chakras, it deals with Kundalini, and it talks about Laya Yoga as well. And that's the book which is called The Serpent Power by Arthur Avalon, or Sir John Woodroffe was his actual name. Arthur Avalon was his pen name. And this was a guy, a judge actually, who lived in India, an English fellow who wrote texts on Tantra, and he wrote a book on Laya Yoga as well. But other than that, there was another book written later on, many years later, that basically copied the first book and didn't do a good job of it. So I cannot recommend that. And there have been a few other random books here and there, but those books were usually very, very bad and totally missed the point. So Laya Yoga, unfortunately, is not easy to learn these days. You need to find a teacher who knows. Lucky for me, I have to say I've learned it from my teacher, and I keep passing it on as well. And I can say to you, definitely, it's an amazing teaching. So come to a course if you really want to study it properly. Otherwise, try to find the Serpent Power book. That text also deals with the topic as well. Otherwise, not much else is out there today. Moving on to the next question, number 4, from Marie Mansukoski, from Finland. She's asking, where is the mind when you are on the borderline to death? Some people are observing their own body from somewhere above, and they had the opportunity to come back to this world. This is an excellent question. What happens to the mind at the time of death? This is actually one of the key elements and topics that we discuss in the course Art of Dying that we teach, because there's so much to teach on the subject of death. This is extremely important in yoga. The yogis consider that the knowledge about death is so essential, because most people in modern times comes to the moment of death. They come to that moment completely and utterly unprepared, and because of that, their mind is not ready to deal with what is coming at the time of death. The mind does not die with the body when the body dies. There's only a part of the mind that dies. I cannot go into those details. This comes in the workshop. I cannot share it right now. But there's a big part of the mind that stays after death. But the problem is that that part of the mind we are not aware of, and we cannot control, most of us. And that's why anyone who thinks, oh, my mind will stay after I die and I can do this and that and I can control the situation, then that person is sorely mistaken, because you will have no control about what happens to you before death, at the time of death, and after death. There's a period of time which is very critical. Most of us go through that time completely ignorant and even in a state of suffering. And that is why it is important to study the art of dying and prepare your mind for that time. And then when you're prepared, death becomes a very different experience. In the words of a Zen teacher many years ago, who said the following: he who dies before dying dies no more when dying. To explain this statement quickly, in the state of enlightenment, samadhi, it has been observed that the yogis stop breathing, the heartbeat stops, the pulse stops, everything stops, and the person goes into a state of enlightenment. That is a kind of death. It's not a complete death, because you can come back from it. Many yogis reached enlightenment, the body seems to have died. If a doctor would check your pulse and everything, he would write the death certificate. You're gone. But the person comes back from that state actually, and can still be alive, which is incredible. That's the state of samadhi enlightenment. It's a kind of death. That's why the Zen master said, he who dies, in other words, reached enlightenment before dying, before the actual death of the body, dies no more when dying, when actual death comes. Because you are prepared. Because at the time of death, it doesn't confuse you. You go into a higher state and you leave your body enlightened. That's a different way of dying. There are various ways to prepare for death. One of them is complete enlightenment, and that's how we deal with it from the standpoint of the mind. Study the art of dying, and answers will come. Moving on to the next question. I think this will be our last one for today. Number 5 from Yavor Nikolov. What body position or movement would support a good meditation? This is a very good question, indeed, a classic one, because people ask, how should I sit? What should I do with my body when I meditate? When it comes to Laya Yoga, we teach this very clearly, and we say it's very important, one thing, and that is that your body during meditation is relaxed. You should have no stress in the body, no pain in any area of the body. You should be able to sit comfortably and completely forget about the body. That means if you find that even sitting on a yoga mat, on a cushion, on the floor to meditate is too much for you because your knees hurt or you're not used to sitting on the floor, then sit even on a comfortable chair. As long as your spine is straight, that's the only important thing. As long as the spine is straight, then simply sit in any comfortable sitting position and close your eyes and do the steps and start meditating. You can even meditate on the train. You can meditate on a bus. Just put earplugs, sit, meditate, no problem. And therefore, the body position is not very critical. It is true that there have been some body positions recommended in the yoga texts that are very useful for meditation, but those are for the people who are very comfortable to sit in those positions for long periods of time, such as the lotus pose, Padmasana, or Siddhasana, or a few others which are there, from Vajrasana to Sukhasana. There's a few sitting positions, which if you can sit in those positions, attention, with comfort, with no pain or discomfort whatsoever, completely relaxed. If you can sit in those positions for half an hour, 1 hour, whatever, meditate easily, then use them. Why not? They can contribute to the energy flow in the body and support your meditation. But otherwise, I can tell you, I know people who are not very flexible. They can sit even on an armchair, but with the spine straight, and they can have incredible meditations. I even know people who can reach high states of consciousness even in an armchair meditating. So no worries with that. I hope this helps. I see another question has made its way to me, so let's give it one more there. From Kelly, Canada. How long does it take to become proficient in meditation, and how much practice is recommended per day considering modern lifestyle? Well, another important point indeed, because people would like to know how quickly can I get there. It's a very Western approach, you know, that people say, can you give me a timeline? Is there a deadline? How quickly will I get my results? Because I don't have much time. Obviously, this is a case-by-case situation, because every person is different. Every person has different karma. And therefore, when you meditate, you will notice that some people get results in meditation even in a matter of weeks, while others, it might take them a year to actually succeed properly in meditation. It is a matter of practice, consistency, being very persistent, and it's a matter of karma, which is out of our hands. We do the best we can with practice. Practice can overcome any negative karma, but it will take some time. I know people that practiced meditation for 6 months and then got amazing results, and today they're very good meditators. And I know people that practiced 3 weeks and clicked on it, because maybe in previous life they meditated 10 years already and they were ready for it, and it was somehow easy for them. So the timeline, I cannot tell you 100% how it would be, but do the practice. And if you do a daily practice, which I recommend, half an hour is a very good one. If you cannot do half an hour, at least try 15 to 20 minutes a day if you're super busy. Even that will give you some results. The progress will not be too fast, but it will come. It will still be a progress. If you can do half an hour a day, you'll get already pretty good results. If you can manage to do 45 minutes to an hour every day, you will have very good results in yoga and in your spiritual practice. Your meditation will run very quickly. So those are the options. Of course, if you can do more than that, you are very lucky and blessed, and I really, support that, but it's very rare. Okay, I'll squeeze one more question here from Silar Sun. What's the point of enlightenment? This is a good question, because indeed, many people say enlightenment. You keep waving it in our faces. You're saying, wow, Buddha was enlightened, the yogi, Yogananda was enlightened, whatever. So many people reached enlightenment. How does it come? Why is it so important? What's the point of it? It's a good question. The best way for me to answer this for you is the following. If you meet a person, and this will be a bit funny, so get ready for that. If you meet a person who never made love in their lives, never made love, never had sex, and that you tell them, orgasm is so wonderful, orgasm is so great, and they keep telling you, what's the point of orgasm? What's the big deal about orgasm? That's a person who never had it. That's why they say it like this. When you have your first orgasm, oh my God, that's all you want from that point onwards. Like, wow, give me more of that. That was amazing. It's the same with enlightenment in a way. Enlightenment cannot be explained and tell you enlightenment is good because, you will have nice feeling in your head and, your body will feel light and it's kind of nice. It's not that. Enlightenment gives an incredible effect. Spiritually, existentially, your life transforms completely. Just like a person who never made love in their lives would say, my God, my first orgasm, I thought I was dying. I thought I was reborn. I thought I was in paradise. It was incredible. I want more of it. Great. Now you know. Now go and get it. Go and practice. Go and do the exercises. It's the same with enlightenment. It is incredible. It is the reason why we are born on this planet. The yogis, all yogis say it 100%. They say, you can think that you are here to change the world, to invent new technologies, to, I don't know, be a politician, to help people. These are all sweet and very nice, admirable objectives. But those are not the real reason why we are on this planet. We are on this planet to reach enlightenment. This is not just an orgasm or some other fun thing. This is the complete achievement any human being can reach. This is the pinnacle of human evolution. And that's why it is indeed incredible. And to convince you, why is it good? Why should we go there? What is the point of it? The point is incredible. And the only way to understand the point is to get there yourself. I'm sorry, I cannot give you any better point than that, but it's the best thing I can say, other than taking you there, which I hope maybe one day we can go there together. Thank you all very much, and have a nice evening or day wherever you are.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.